Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for our first Creativepreneur Talk. As promised, we would be coming to you live on the LinkedIn. Let me just apologize. We had some technical challenges. However, nonetheless, the show still goes on, and we want to ensure that you get this valuable information. Firstly, let me just take this opportunity to say Happy New Year to you, one and all. It is the beginning of something new, and of course, at the beginning of the year, we have much anticipation as to what the year holds in our lives, in our businesses. And so, this evening, this discussion is really just to help persons who are just starting out on their entrepreneurial journey. Maybe you're a corporate professional, and we want to help you in that regards as well, or maybe you're a corporate professional and you want to have something on the side in the entrepreneurial space. This is a safe space for you. Our hope in these discussion or conversations, if you will, is really just to share with you. We will be inviting different experts across various industries who will come on each week to provide with valuable insights that you can use to grow in the respective spaces. And this evening, we're looking on strategies that you can use to boost your growth in your business, as well as some taxation tips, because we know this is tax season. But I've said a lot to you, and I'm sure that you're curious, who is this wonderful young lady who's speaking? I am Akeelia Thompson, host for the Creativepreneur Talk. I am a creative entrepreneur as well as a digital strategist, and my goal is to help individuals as well as organizations to grow within the market space, develop their branding, and of course, gain practical insights that they can use to build their business and their brand simultaneously. And with me, I have the wonderful entrepreneur and author, Mr. Rowen A. Johnson, and you'll hear from him in a little bit. But before we get to that, we just want to tell you thank you so much for sharing with us in this space. We know that some of you, you're busy, you're at work, you're doing different things. And so we want to ensure that the information that we have for you is definitely something that will be worth sharing. So we know that the show must go on, and I don't want to keep you waiting for much longer. I'll be sharing with you just a quick presentation on some strategies that you can implement in your business. Mr. Johnson, he's a seasoned entrepreneur, and he will share his bit. And of course, he'll be taking you through taxation, which is coming up in March. You know that the deadline is March. He'll give you all those finer details. We'll just have a little chit chat on some of the common questions that persons may ask. And of course, wherever you're seeing this video on Facebook, YouTube, or otherwise, please feel free to just drop your questions, any particular topic that you have on business. If you're an expert out there and you wish to share your knowledge, this is a collaborative space. So we want to engage with persons as much as possible to provide the necessary information so that we can all grow, because it's important for us to grow in 2024, the year of more. Alrighty, so let me just share my screen with you as I tap into this quick, easy breezy presentation, but of course, valuable and impactful. And I pray that something that you will use in your businesses so that you can gain maximum growth where possible. All right, so we're looking at business growth strategy.
Let me just interject. Thank you for having me, Akeelia. I'm looking forward to sharing with your platform.
Most definitely. Thank you so much, Rowen, for joining us, and we'll have him more spotlighted for you all in a bit, so that you can get to meet this wonderful young man who will share all the valuable insights that you will need. So we're looking at business growth and strategies and how you can use this in your business. So before we start the business, a lot of persons will tell you that all you need to do is to have a winning idea. You go, you register the process, and you just get your logo, your branding, and all of these things. And I'm sure Mr. Johnson, he will share with you. But for me, these are just important tasks, of course, but there are other facets of the business that we need to understand. And for me, something is, what is your why? Before you get into entrepreneurship or anything else in life, we need to establish what is our why. And so we're looking at these growth strategies because we need to zone in on what will help us to achieve long-term growth and success in the business. If you're just jumping into entrepreneurship because you want to make a quick buck, essentially you're doing a hustle and it's not entrepreneurship. We're looking at the bigger picture. How can we do this not just for the business space and meeting the needs of consumers, but we also want to look at other life facets that will entail generational wealth. What can we do now that we will leave for the generation after us? And if we want to back that up a little bit, we can look at all the sciences, but simply put, from a biblical perspective, it says a wise man will leave something, an inheritance for his children. And this is important because we have all the things in society where people say, hey, let's blame it on this, let's blame it on that, when really and truly there's something that we can do this generation right now. We can change certain habits, invest in certain things, and of course, yield that overall success and implement these growth strategies to grow our businesses in whatever industry. All right. So we have write the vision and make it plain, which is essentially the business plan and everything else that you will do when you need to engage corporate entities or financial institutions to gain those monies to invest in the business, or maybe if you're coming up with your own personal investment. But here I have some 5 key things, and these are some 5 pillars that I have learned over my period on my entrepreneurial journey, and also something that I would have shared in my newsletter at Akeelia Thompson on LinkedIn that speaks to some P's, winning strategies that you can use for 2024. And I just want to touch a little bit on these strategies. So the first thing is pivot. And we're looking on pivot because it is something that most persons reject, mainly because we are afraid of the unknown. But pivoting is essential for every facet of our life and business. Pivoting because 1, the market is constantly shifting. 2, we want to ensure that we're meeting the needs and wants of consumers. 3, yes, you started out with a winning product and an idea, but we know that different products and services, we have different growth stages. And so whenever we've exhausted something over a period of time, it's important to not necessarily change the entire process, but we can make improvements to that product or service to make it greater, because we have other persons who are coming into the space. And oftentimes persons look at only the larger guys as the competitor, but the truth is we have different requirements or barriers of entry. And so really and truly anyone can be a competitor. And if it is that you're not willing to change, because change is the ever constant thing, then you'll be left behind essentially. So successful businesses, we change and we recognize the need to make improvements so that you can move with the market shifts and meet the needs and wants of your consumers as applicable or where necessary. Persistency. Entrepreneurial effort requires persistency, and if you're not willing to take an idea and run with it, and that running process, meaning you're jumping over the hurdles, you're navigating the obstacles, the challenges, the good times, the slow periods, the whatever it is, all of the challenges that you will encounter and victories, because we don't only want to look at the daunting aspect, but it is very important for us to view entrepreneurial or your professional journey from a very practical standpoint, and that is what we're here to shed light on. So we must be persistent in whatever we are doing. Then we're looking on passion. Passion is the driving force behind innovation and customer satisfaction. So if you're not passionate about what you're doing, it will show in almost every regard of the business. How you approach your training, how do you approach recruiting, what are the services that you offer to your customers, and how you put these things together in a wholesome package where the customer can receive it, can feel comfortable and satisfied from it, and from that aspect make the necessary recommendation to someone else who will come to your business for that particular service. Then we're also looking on processing. We need to have different streamlines within our businesses that helps to promote efficiency, but not only that, us as individuals, we will go through different processes. How do we invest in ourselves to grow with the business? Because some famous quote are saying, that you'll find online will say that your business will only grow as much as you grow. So we have to do the necessary changes and make the improvements that we need, whether gaining higher qualification, changing the status of our business through the different stages, whether sole proprietorship, partnership, company, having that level of growth. Whatever we need to do, it requires a particular process, knowing the different processes that are happening, because the business does not happen in isolation. So there are different legislative processes that you need to be aware of when it comes to your business. So we have to look at those things, how they're changing, how they're shifting, and ultimately how the different factors that surround the business, how they will impact the business. So it's to know those processes as we process with the business. And then finally, we have preparation. So we had this idea. Maybe we're like a Joseph with the dream that one day we'll have this grand vision and persons will come to bow down to us, or that the business will take off. It started out with so much zeal and zest, but the truth is, sometimes whenever that success comes, because sometimes we can't predict it. Yes, we'll do the necessary steps, but sometimes we can't predict it and it comes earlier for some as opposed to others. So being prepared. Are we putting in the necessary? You want more customers, you want more sales, but then you don't have a proper CRM system. You don't have a proper sales channel. So we need to be prepared for what we would have invested in, have that level of preparation so that we can ultimately receive it. Because the worst thing is to have a demand for the product and then we don't have a supply of it because we don't have the merchandisers or the vendors or whoever else will come on board to facilitate that service or product. You don't have it. And then you ultimately have dissatisfied customers who are looking forward to the product. We've done all this marketing, but yet you're unable to meet the demand in the market. So these are 5 key pillars that I believe, outside of all the necessary processes that we need to do, the registration and stuff like that, if we understand these pillars, it makes everything else smoother whenever we have completed all of the administrative processes. Then we are looking at the words, or some words that I would say personally for myself as it relates to strategy and just for this year. Many persons will say, especially from a marketing perspective, that content is king. And I beg to disagree. Yes, marketers, I'm going against the grain now. I beg to differ and to say that consistency is king. If we're not consistent in a thing, we won't be able to gain the necessary results that we need in order to push this thing forward. And the next thing that we need to look at is people. This year, and we have the Sold into Purpose Masterclass that I'll just share with you at the end of this session. But people, we need to have strategic partnership. And so starting out this year, this is me being vulnerable, being in the space. I'm here with Rowen this evening, and we're collaborating because he's an entrepreneur, I'm an entrepreneur, and the goal is that we can all come together and win. There are some things that I know that he doesn't know. There are things that he knows and experiences that he has that I have not experienced as yet. Because as we go through different spaces and we operate in different industry, so consistency is king. People, strategic partnerships. I share this in one of my newsletters where I said that partnership are looking for persons who can help to bring your vision to life. It's not necessarily going to a cocktail event and handing out 100 or 50 business cards. You collect 50 business cards and then you call the person and you text them like, hey, can we have a coffee call date or something? Or can we do a call or a meeting and you hound the persons? No. That is not strategic partnership. Strategic partnership is when you look through your contact, and these are not just numbers because they want to fill up your contact list, but they're actually persons who you can have wholesome conversations with, you can have partnerships with, and at the end of the day, both of you can make a deposit. So it's not only one person making a withdrawal, but both can make a deposit. And that deposit is the value that you bring to the table and the value that the other person has, and how you can come together to put those values together to come up with a wholesome product for whatever initiative that you need it for. Then finally, we have creating a strategy for you. We have different things online. You will join many free sessions, and I would encourage you, if you do not have the money at hand to start doing paid investments, start out with the free ones, enroll for the free sessions, join the free conversations like we're having now on the respective platforms so that you can learn and grow. Listen to the podcast, but at the end of the day, and this is just my personal recommendation, look at the strategies, take out the elements, the systems, the products, the services, whatever it is, the ideas that work for you. Yes, there are winning ideas, and yes, there are industries that for some persons, or want of a better expression, people will say that you can't go wrong. But just because it worked for someone else doesn't necessarily mean that it will work for you. And something that we do is to go into the market, we buy these templates, whatever it is, and we say, okay, we're going to start a business with this. Each person outside of the business, we have unique personalities and we have unique value proposition, where if we sit down and spend the time to create this profound strategy, we can bring this to market. And sometimes the reason why the product is not selling it, it's because we have become so generic that the consumers know, they are wiser. We have the advent of the internet. We have so many persons who are in the space, and sometimes the winning strategy for you is simply by you being authentic with your product and service and literally getting into the space. So create a strategy that works for you, that works for your business, and create a zone where you can show up authentically to offer whatever value that you have in the marketplace. Then we are looking on creative marketing. So this is essentially using tools that you can use to capture the customer's attention. Yes, we have most persons or most businesses, I would say, have the marketing department or a marketing rep. But this is looking at the marketing trend, investing in research, and then coming together to form campaigns that will align and attract the customers to your particular product and service. And this is looking on the different principles, which, as I mentioned to you before, it will require flexibility, pivoting, it will require innovation, and of course, we want to be in business, not just for a good time, but for a long time. So of course, sustainability is key. So when we understand these fundamental principles of creative marketing, then it will help us to better navigate the competitive landscape of business. And of course, we're looking at these insights and how we can use analytics, how we can use AI. Don't run away from these things. Yes, they can be daunting for some persons, but turn that fear into an opportunity, and let's come together and see how we can use these new things, because many persons were afraid of the internet, but no, we treasure it so much because it literally helps us in our everyday lives. So let us embrace the change and to see how we can use these things to create growth and to boost our business. Then we have the challenges. Of course, with anything new will come some sort of pushback, because you're like, okay, what is this? It's too hard. We can't navigate it. It's going to, go against our job, or maybe it will ultimately replace us. But it is important, even if the replacement comes, learn the business strategies. Even if you're shifting from a corporate space into an entrepreneurial sector, learn the different strategies and the business principles, administrative principles, marketing as best as you possibly can. And hopefully Rowen will agree with me. Learn the different facets of your business. So it's not just, okay, I am the creative director, I am the CEO. Learn about the marketing, learn about admin, learn how to do a Word document, an Excel sheet, learn how to review your contracts, because these things are very important for you to know, especially when you scale within the market space. And of course, we know that many things can happen, and the worst case scenario, you don't want to be scammed, for want of better terminology. So let us learn to do this. And while we're doing that, we ensure that we grow with our customers and build a community. If you look in the social media space, many persons will throw around the word community because it is where persons are going for. Persons want to go somewhere where they can relate to, where they belong, where they feel like they have a sense of belonging. And if you just bring something to the marketplace that they can implement in their business or see themselves in it, or when they look at the value or the product, the service that you're offering, they can say, hey, if I use this, they're offering this, but if I use it, invest in it and implement it in my life, it can make a significant change. So these are just some of the challenges that we want to look at. And of course, we're looking at sustaining business and success through creative marketing. Still looking at the growth strategies. So if we're making the connection with creative marketing or businesses using the 5 pillars, then what we will get is brand evolution. We will have businesses that foster customer-centric approach because the customers are key. Without them, you're out of business. They need somebody to buy. It's just like the beginning of the barter system. If it is that you have something and you don't have anyone to give it to, ultimately it expires on you. And that is not what we want to do. We want to have a fair exchange and also a space where we can earn a profit, grow, and definitely have that level of adaptability and competitive edge in the market. So that's my little presentation to you. I trust that it helped you. If you're just joining us, I'm Akeelia Thompson, host for the Creativepreneur Talk. This evening, we're looking on strategies that you can use to boost your business, as well as providing you with some taxation tips. Our very special guest this evening is entrepreneur and author Rowen A. Johnson. And at this point in time, I'm going to stop sharing my screen and I'm going to invite this wonderful gentleman to come and share his presentation with you, tell you about himself, his business, and just to share the wonderful things that you will learn about the tax season because it's coming up just around the corner. Welcome, Rowen, again, and it's a pleasure to have you here with us this evening.
Thank you for having me, Akeelia, and I will share that, there are some pretty pivotal points that you made. What stuck, one of the things that stuck with me is the fact that consistency is indeed king, especially as it relates to promoting your business. You need to consistently be championing your vision and your mission across social media or in person at networking events. And I also agree with you that if strategic partnerships, it is most effective when that sort of interaction goes both ways. And that statement that you made about both of us depositing is really so important. At times when we're engaging another individual, the temptation can be, even if it's not intended, the temptation can be to almost try to sell or to try to gain. But if you sit and you speak with a person, try to understand too what it is their need, what is their need, and what value you can provide to that individual, so both of you benefit. So those are some very, very pivotal points that I grasped and gathered from what you shared. Thank you again for having me. Just a bit about myself and the company I operate. Again, I'm Rowen. I'm the founder and CEO of Amaru Business Development Limited. And we are a consultancy that provides personal business development solutions to entrepreneurs. And we primarily partner with entrepreneurs to launch, grow, and raise capital for your business. In terms of launching, you mentioned business registration and so on. Those are indeed the big essentials. And so we do provide those services: business registration, taxation, trademark as well. In terms of growth, developing a viable business model, I think you touched on that. It's critical. It's critical to business growth and business success. So we provide business plans for that purpose. Helping you to identify the vision and missions, helping you to create the policies, helping to identify target markets and creating the marketing plan to go after those customers. And the business plan can also be used as a tool to solicit capital from investors. Now, I often get a lot of questions about taxes, especially for individuals who are thinking about registering a business. There tends to be this fear of taxes, and one of my aims is to dispel that fear and some of the myths about taxation that some entrepreneurs or would-be entrepreneurs have. Now, I'm going to go through a series of topics that will lead us to how you file and pay your taxes online. So looking at the super form and electronic business registration form, which I'll elaborate on, the taxpayer registration number, what is tax compliance? You may have heard about the tax compliance certificate or tax compliance letter. And also just diving a little bit into the Jamaica tax system, the importance of record keeping, and where we are in modern times now, filing and paying taxes online. Now, critically, you should know that the business environment has changed. The business environment in Jamaica has evolved over the past, I would say 5 years. When in about 2014, the then administration, the government administration, introduced a minimum business tax, and that minimum business tax meant that specific taxpayers were subject to a $60,000 tax bill every year. So for businesses in particular, whether you were generating an income or not, you had to pay that $60,000. And I know from personal experience that caused a run on, let's say, the company's office, because people really went in and tried to close out their businesses before the MBT, minimum business tax, became effective. And it may have also contributed to some of the
Unmute, Rowen.
Was I on mute?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Okay. Did you catch the introduction?
Yes, you said to us that persons, the threshold of the $60,000 for the taxi.
Okay. All right, great. Thanks so much. So the what I'm getting at is there was a time when some of the policies, the policies that govern the business environment could be interpreted as stifling entrepreneurship. And in recent times, we have seen a number of changes that have served to accelerate entrepreneurship and accelerate new venture creation. Specifically in 2019-2020, that budget year, there were several changes made to Jamaica's tax system. Of note is that the minimum business tax, which I mentioned just now, was abolished. So businesses no longer had to pay that $60,000 every year, whether they were generating an income or not. There was a reduction in the transfer tax payable on transfer of property. So for example, so the transfer tax, it was reduced from 5% to 2%. So it made it cheaper for people to pass property from one person to the next. So in terms of buying property from somebody or buying financial instruments, that that tax was reduced. And then there was an increase in the transfer tax or estate tax threshold for estates. So what this means is, usually when somebody passes, you pay a tax on the value of the property that is being inherited, I guess, by the inheritance, and that threshold was increased from 100,000 to about $10 million. And then there was a reduction in the stamp duty. Now, the stamp duty usually that is paid on legal documents such as loan agreements or titles and so on, and articles of incorporation, to show that it is legally, it is recognized under law. Now, it moved from being a percentage to a flat rate. So I believe it was $100 for transactions per page for transactions below $500,000, and $5,000 per page for transactions above $500,000. So all of these have served, all of these measures have served to make the business environment much more friendly. And then there was another development, the super form. I believe the super form was introduced in 2013. Now, I remember back in 2012 when I registered my first business, right? When you register your business at the company's office or the office of the company's registrar, you then had to go to the tax office and you register for a TRN, and you have to go to different agencies, NHC and NIS, to register to get a number for your business. Now, the company's office introduced what is called a super form. So it allowed that, what they call allowed registration to be done at like a one-stop shop. So once you registered at the company's office, you got all these numbers. You got the TRN, you got the NHC, you got the NAS. Everything was registered. And in the case of a company, you could actually apply for a TCC as well at the point of registration, which is normally valid for 3 months. Then there was another development with the electronic business registration forms. It was piloted, the EBRF for short. It was piloted in 2018 and officially launched in 2019. And what that does is it allows anybody to register their business name, their limited liability, their non-profit from anywhere in the world. You could do that 24/7. So it was a really major development, and it was rather prescient too, because when we had the pandemic and nobody could, and there were restrictions in movement, there was an explosion in the use of the EBRF. As a matter of fact, over the past 5 years, in some instances, we've seen where there has been 100% growth in business registrations, and that positive growth trajectory has virtually continued from 2018 up to present. So that is another indicator. That's another indicator too, that there is greater business confidence in the Jamaican environment, that people are less and less fearful of regulation and are welcoming and accepting of the regulations from what I've seen. Now, taxpayer registration. Every individual and every company, even overseas companies that come here to operate, they need a TRN, right? And this allows the TRN, what's the taxpayer registration number? It allows taxpayers to conduct business transactions, whether with the tax admin or other government entities. So when you register a sole trader, your personal TRN is the same. It's not upgraded. It becomes the TRN of the business. So if you've ever registered a business, or somebody who registered a sole trader, if you look at the bottom left where it says TRN, you'll see that person's personal TRN number, but then there's a slash and a number beside it. Sometimes it's a 1. If there's more than one business that person has registered, in maybe 2 or 3. So the branch number is added after the individual's TRN. But for companies and partnerships and other organizations, the TRN would be different. The company, the entity would have its own TRN. Now, tax compliance. You probably hear the term tax compliance or tax compliance certificate. So this is the degree to which a taxpayer complies with Jamaica's tax laws. Now, what does that mean? And I will get further when I get further in my presentation. You will see that there are certain statutory payments, right, and taxes that individuals and entities are required to make on an annual basis, and and those form part of the tax laws. So where you are not making those payments, or you haven't been making those payments, then you will not be tax compliant, and as such you will not be able to obtain a tax compliance letter or a tax compliance certificate. It's more of a letter, but the traditional term is TCC, tax compliance certificate, and a TCC is required when you are importing and clearing goods. If you're applying for government contracts, so procurement, if you're applying for a securities commission license, if you're a security firm that's looking to be registered, as well as applicants for citizenship or work permits. Now, the Jamaican tax system. It's important to note that Jamaica has a self-assessment tax system. What does that mean? You, the taxpayer, have the power. You, the taxpayer, have the responsibility, and a great one at that, to not only calculate but also file and pay your taxes at a specific time in the year. Usually March 15, though it varies for some groups of persons. And later down, I will mention record keeping, because record keeping is what enables you to file accurate returns. And it's important to note that, again, this responsibility comes with this is a significant responsibility, and even though the onus is on you to file your returns, you should be careful. You should be very careful that you are not doing anything untoward, that you are filing, you are making accurate returns. There are stiff penalties. If you are found in breach of this, right? There are random assessments that are done by the Tax Administration Jamaica, and if they audit you, they come in and audit you and find that what you've been filing doesn't match up with your accounting records and what you've been earning, then there are serious penalties for that. So there are various tax types within the Jamaican tax system. There's income tax, there's education tax, there's property tax, there's guest accommodation room tax, that's for the tourism industry. There's a general consumption tax, a special consumption tax, and the asset tax. Now, we're going to focus on the income tax because that is most relevant for business persons and self-employed persons, as well as those who are employees. Now, income tax, important to know that's a tax on all sources of income, and there are various sources of income. You have rental, you have investments, you have business income, and you have income that you earn as an employee. Now, both residents and non-residents are liable to pay taxes. For residents, the tax is payable on worldwide income. So it's money that you earn all over the world. And then for non-residents, it's income that is earned in the island or in relation to Jamaica while that person is here for more than 3 months. Now, this slide breaks down the income tax rate and when it is normally payable for various categories of, and I will call them entities, as individuals and businesses. Now, for companies and for individuals, it is a tax on profit. Why you pay taxes on profit? I will say it again. For companies, sole traders, you pay taxes on profit. And why do I stress that? It's important to note that if you're not making any money, if you haven't earned a profit, then reasonably, there's no tax that can be collected from you. Right? So if you haven't earned a profit, then you won't be paying the significant tax rates that you see here. The caveat is that for individuals, sole traders, right? While you may not pay the profit tax, there is the NIS that is still payable. There is the education tax that is still payable, and the NHT that is still payable as well. Though for those two, you have to be earning at least, I believe, $40,000 per month to contribute to the NHT. And there's benefits to contributing to the NHT because that puts you now in good stead to be able to access a mortgage, a loan from NHT. Now, the tax on profits for companies and sole traders, right? For regulated entities, it is 33.33%, and for unregulated entities, it is 25%. So there are certain entities, such as those in the financial sector, that are regulated. So they have a higher tax rate. Every other company is unregulated and pay a lower tax rate. For employees, it's usually 25% of the gross salary, and it's the same for pensioners. The return date, as in the dates that you must file, is usually March 15th. Now for employees, is March 31. Now coming to the end, I mentioned that with great power comes great responsibility. That is a quote I was looking for. We as the ones with responsibility for filing our taxes means and requires of us that we keep accurate records. And I believe we have to keep accounting records, receipts, invoices, and the likes for up to 7 years. So you have to maintain those records for up to 7 years. Pardon?
Tell them again how long they should keep the receipts and stuff like that.
It is 7 years. It is 7 years. And you know, there are so many accounting systems and software that are available to support you with this process. And we know that receipts fade, but you can scan them and you can store them in the cloud. The good thing again about using software for invoicing and receipting is that you know those are digital, so you won't run into that problem of fading documents. And then to wrap up, the filing is now done through the tax admin portal. It's done online, so you can file your taxes from anywhere in the world, similar to how you can register your business from anywhere in the world. And it's a simple process. It just requires that you create a tax portal login, and then you apply for an e-services account. Usually for the e-services account, once you apply for it, it takes about 3 days for them to activate the account. But if not, then you can make a call to customer care to have them activate the account for you. Now that ends our presentation. Try to be rather brief and covered just the basics in terms of what we generally get asked by entrepreneurs.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Rowen, and such a great presentation. I trust that our audience, they would have learned so much from you. And this is definitely something that we can use for the season. And as you can see, his information is on the screen if you wish to reach out to him. He's
Certainly.
with the process, even though it's online, but we know that people, they love time and convenience, and we're busy people. So if you definitely need the support, you can do that, and he's here to help. Alrighty, but Rowen, I just want to ask you some quick questions before we close out, and just
sure.
A sense of, are you able to stop sharing so that we can
Sure. Let me do that.
We can just have this course for persons who need this information. So now the tax season is coming up, and you would have shared how persons can log on, and I just want to highlight some of the points from your presentation where persons, whenever we are filing our taxes, before we even get to that stage, it's important for us to have excellent record keeping. And as Rowen rightfully mentioned, we have free softwares that can help us to do that. If we have receipts, we should keep them up to 7 years. So don't be like some of us, as we get the receipts, we take them, we crush them up, we throw them out the door, and we don't remember. Even though the transaction has been completed, anything can happen. Maybe there are damages, you need to return it. On that receipt, oftentimes it may have the return policies and other things that you need to look on. Perhaps a figure was misquoted because of the rush and the busyness of the day. And all of these things we want to verify it. Even sometimes a number may be on it, a reference number that you need to share with your vendor or financial institution if it is that you want a refund or something on a particular policy. So these things, policy or purchase, so these things are important for you to note. He also highlighted that no persons have more confidence to step into the entrepreneur space. And it is important for us to learn about these processes, as I just tying it to what I said earlier, understanding the processes, because the business does not operate in isolation, and we have to ensure that we are compliant to these procedures, that we do not face the stiff penalties that Rowen mentioned. But if you want to see more of Rowen, we have the Sold into Purpose Masterclass that is coming up, and we'll touch that in a little bit. But Rowen, we're at the point of the year where persons are just running all over the place trying to locate their invoices and their receipts. But before we get to there, and we offer advice to those persons who are in the heat of the moment for March 15 and beyond, let us touch, we're at the start of the year. Speak to business owners or persons who are running their companies. What are some of the best practices that we can implement at the start of the year before we get to this point in the new year to file our taxes?
And that's such a critical question, and it boils down again to record keeping. From the very onset, you need to establish a system of simply just documenting the income and the expenses. Just documenting the income and the expenses. You could, for the receipts, you could take pictures of them and create a Google Drive folder. That's where you save those receipts. But we are in the age of automation, and I for one know that software, and this is not an ad, but QuickBooks, for example, can be connected to your bank account, and it will automatically pull the transactions from your bank account, so you see everything there, and then it's just a matter of you sorting those transactions to relevant categories. Now that is termed bookkeeping, and if you don't have time for that, you could potentially outsource that work. But automating the processes, we're in that age. Digitization is critical. Automating the process will certainly relieve a lot of headache, and will save you a lot of time as well, because we know that when you're in the business and you're dealing with the daily activities, sometimes these, let's say, mundane tasks which are critical can get pushed to the side, and it is not until next year, when you're in March and you have 2 weeks to file, that you're running up and down trying to find receipts, trying to pull different transactions and so on and so forth. So you asked a vital question. Where it's January, it's still early days yet. So what you do, you is either you establish that system, that framework of documenting the income and the expenditure, of taking photographs of the receipts and uploading them to the cloud, Google Drive or OneDrive or Dropbox, whichever you prefer, or you automate. You subscribe to an accounting software such as QuickBooks and connect your account, and that is an automatic.
And something that you mentioned, even with the drive for persons, you mentioned categorizing them, but even with placing them under respective categories, it's important for you to label them. So maybe store them or rename the files via the vendors. And it is also important to include the dates, because that would definitely help you to go through faster. And there are other automated accounting platforms where when you scan the photos, they provide you with a cloud that you can upload it to their system, and they can also pull the information as well as with your bank statement, as Rowen rightfully mentioned. So it is important for us to put these things in place. As I mentioned to you, it's not only for us to be in the business, working in the business and just being the CEO, the creative director, the MD, whatever you call yourself, but understand the respective processes. Some of these things, just going over what he said, that you can outsource them, but maybe your business is not at that stage, and so it's important for you to go back to the P word, learn the different processes which are also automated online at the respective platform, and you can create the portals, you share the information, you can even do some research beyond this. This is being prepared. So talk about preparation. You see all these things coming back now. So preparation starting from now, and even those who are still early days in January, start getting those documents together so that we can make those necessary submissions. And so,
and let me add one. I hear there's a common story, oft repeated, of the entrepreneur who knows that the business is making money, right? He is not keeping any proper records, right? Not doing any sort of accounting or bookkeeping work. But because there is that cash flow, that steady stream of money coming in, as much as it is flowing out. I mean, it can be flowing out as quickly as it is coming in, but as long as it keeps coming in, it gives the entrepreneur that falls sense of comfort that all is well, and the business is healthy in terms of profitability. But I've heard it said in meetings with bankers, where entrepreneurs, they say the business is making money, and when they approach the banker, they say they need the accounts, and when the entrepreneur goes back and does the accounts, it's actually operating at a loss, or barely making a profit, and they're shocked. But one of the critical aspects to be successful in business, as I read once, is you have to know how to count. You have to know how to count. And they say what doesn't get measured doesn't get done. So setting those financial targets, potential, setting those quarterly targets, setting those annual targets, and assessing them periodically to see how the business is performing, because you have to monitor the business performance. Those are practices as well that they're not just good when it's time to file taxes, but it's good in terms of management, in terms of governance, and also in terms of growth for the business, because you'll be able to see what are the main revenue drivers, and also if the business is in trouble, you'll see what are the main costs, and see where you could potentially shave off some expenditure to give you more room.
I'm glad that you said that, Rowen, and thank you so much for that. But I don't want you to give them any more information. You know why? Because I want them to join us for the Soul into Purpose Masterclass. And I'm sharing my screen with you now. This is going down right here on Zoom. This will be held on January 31st, 2024. And guess what? You have a sponsored spot, aka a free spot, where you can join myself, Rowen. We have Karen Williams, Granville Knight, Robert Murray Burbick Bailey, and our big bad gospel artist, Perez Judah. We're all here to share. Rowen, he'll be talking about standing on business, and he mentioned setting those business goals. He will touch that, but that will help you to establish your goals for the new year and how we can achieve your different objectives on a quarterly basis. Then we have Karen, who's here to talk about divine connections. And I spoke about strategic partnerships. It's not just for business, it's for life. Who you connect with. We hear the saying ever so often, show me your company and I can tell who you are or how far your future will be. We need to have the right people, not just a crowd around us, but we need the right persons in our circle for this 2024, because that is how we're going to be able to be strategic in our success and achieving our goals. We have Mr. Granville Knight, who will be sharing on investment. In order for us to have growth in our life and to see our money grow, we need to do some sort of investment. It's not just saving in the bank or putting it under the bed or the piggy bank. And these, of course, are some measures that we can do, or we can do the envelope saving. I see him sharing some tips today, but it's important to know about investing. Then we have Reverend Murray Burbick Bailey, who is going to share with us on your divine purpose. We believe in God, understanding what He has called you to do, unlocking those purpose so that you can. Maybe your passion is not your purpose, even though you should be passionate about what you do, but you need to understand where you are, what direction you should flow in. So as I mentioned to you before, it's not just about taking the business idea and being generic about it, understanding your lane and what you bring to the table. And then we have Perez Judah, who is going to give us some purposeful performances, because he has some wonderful songs that can definitely help us to get sold into purpose. So please make every endeavor. You'll see the link below or above this video, and click it. It's a sponsored spot. It's free. Join us on January 31st. You can join us here from Jamaica or around the globe. It is virtual. There is no distance to join us and be a part of that. And you can hear Rowen, as he'll be sharing on standing on business, what you need to do from an entrepreneurial perspective, from a professional perspective, things that you will need, skills, practical things that you can put in your business, in your life to grow, to see growth in every area. So today we're looking on taxation and the business and growing the business, but really and truly the goal or our purpose collectively is to see holistic development in all facets of our life. And this is what we're here. We're here to help you. Join us. This will be a value added and packed session that you don't want to miss. Of course, we're touching the vision board and we have prizes and surprises and performances. So please make every effort to join us. January 31st, 8 p.m. on Zoom. I'm your host, Akeelia Thompson, and we'll have Rowen A. Johnson joining us again. Alrighty, so thank you so much everyone for joining us. This was our very first Creativepreneur Talk. I trust that you enjoyed it. As I mentioned to you before, you will see the information on ways in which you can connect with us on your screen. So please feel free, if you're an expert and you wish to share with us on any topic, maybe you have questions that you're curious about. If you even have further tax questions, you can drop them below or above this video. Let us know in the comment section so that we can address them and bring to you meaningful conversations. And guess what? We're giving this away for free. So please feel free to engage with us. Let us know if you love the content. Thank you so much again, Rowen, for joining us. We appreciate your time. And we hope to have you for the rest of the year. So you'll see us around in the space, in the virtual space on YouTube, on Instagram, and Facebook. And we encourage you to tap into this wonderful session. So until next time, for the next Creativepreneur Talk, I'm your host, Akeelia Thompson, signing out. Thank you so much for joining us, everyone. Have a wonderful night.